On today's episode of Nostalgia 101, we're here with toy designer Matt Nuccio.
The very best thing of all, there's a counter on the ball. So try to beat your very best score. See if you can jump a whole lot more.
Welcome to the Nostalgia Test Podcast, the show where two longtime friends put their mainstream pop culture past to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test.
Oh, Dan, I know you didn't have an intro set up, so I just
I'm gonna do that.
I'm
on
that
put
commercial.
Skip it singing as as the thing right after I say that. It's all gonna be in editing, people. So as you're
there
listening
it is.
to it, it's all exactly the way I wanted it. Welcome to a special episode of the Nostalgia Test Podcast, a podcast where me and Manny put our pop culture past to the ultimate test. And today we are joined by Matt Nuccio to do an episode of Nostalgia 101. And I love these episodes. Truthfully, it's been a little bit since we did a 101 episode.
Yeah.
Learning about this whole pop culture world that we've been trying to, figure out, was it good? Was it not? I don't know. But everyone, the Street Fighter episode's been causing a lot of anger. So please keep the comments coming. Keep talking to us about whether or not Street Fighter passes the nostalgia test. At this point, probably, we're probably going to put out there the Days of Thunder episode. So that'll probably be out there and all your comments. And go to our website, follow, subscribe. And if you're interested in booking the Nostalgia Test podcast for one of your events or as a podcast guest, it's on that website. Click the link and fill out the Google form. But yeah.
Are we done now? Can shamelessly plugging? Yeah. I'm going to shamelessly plug Lithology again. We have another connection to Lithology. I found out Matt is a regular with Mary. Mary, our head bartender manager. She does bingos on Thursday. I found out he was a toy maker, designer. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I mean, how big of a toy maker are you? And I'm like, what's your like number one toy? And he just throws down nonchalantly. He's like, Tickle Me Elmo. I'm like, what? Tickle Me Elmo? Like,
wow.
That's not nonchalantly just a regular toy maker.
No.
I was like, oh, you're like big time. So Matt, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey guys. How you doing?
I'm excited. I'm excited to learn. As soon as I found out that you make toys, I was like, I wanted to close down the bar and just sit down and talk to you and be like, Dan, I need to fly. I was like, close down the bar. I want Dan to fly here. I mean, the idea was that we were going to try to do this thing live, but it would take too long. I was like, we just have to get this thing going.
Some other time when I'm in New York.
Matt, first of all, introduce yourself. If there's like people, is there like, do you have Instagram? What do you do?
Sure. My name is Matt Nuccio. I own a company called Design Edge. You can find us designedge.net. I'm pretty prevalent on LinkedIn, which is, not the coolest platform for social media, but it certainly works for me.
No, I heard LinkedIn is like where it's at now, especially to like network and business wise. It's like the social media for business.
It's a crazy place because I wasn't looking to do much on LinkedIn, and I just started watching it just start like creeping up, and one day I'm like 2,000 people, then 3,000 people, then 4,000, then 5, then 15,000, then 20,000, then like 30. It just kept going.
Are following you?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
The brewery has 8,000. Like we just got to 8,000. Like that's crazy. That's awesome.
I'm one of those 8,000 though. I follow you.
Nice.
And I sat at the bar and watched the clock.
Are you?
And I unfollowed and refollowed because I just like watching it go back and forth.
you are the part of the algorithm where I lose 2 and gain 5, lose 3 and gain 2. Like you're part of that. Jerry, shout out to Jerry. He's the one that does that too because he's like, I just want to see it flip when I'm here. So,
oh my god, that's funny.
Thing. But actually, before we get too far into anything, I just have to ask you guys. You talk about Days of Thunder. Do you think it was right for Robert Duvall's character to tell Tom Cruise that those tires were going to get him around that berm at full speed? Do you remember that?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, it made him win. So it's like he took a chance. Like, so the question is like, yeah, you think it is great because he he did it, right? He
Yeah.
knew, right? So
It,
like, I don't know. Like, is that just like great management? Because
I'm
you know your
starting.
guy can do it.
Yeah, but we're starting to see a pattern in some of these movies. Like this is starting to happen where that happened in Days of Thunder. It happens in the new Roadhouse, which horrible movie, but there's no like actual openness of how violent the bar is. She just brings him there,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, help us out. And it's like lunatics trying to like kill everybody in the bar. And then recently, which the episode should probably be out now, maybe the Matrix episode. Um, Morpheus really doesn't tell like anyone or Neo really how crazy it is if he takes the red pill. He just
Yeah.
kind of gives him this philosophical speech. And he's like, you take the blue pill and you take the red pill. And then he's just like, all right, red pill time. And really, like, you wake up like it's fire in the sky. Like, holy shit, what is going on?
I'm
Like,
finding a parallel between this and like dating apps. Like you read the descriptions, then you show up, and it's like this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, yeah, but like back to your question, the main question, like, was he wrong? I guess morally, yeah, he was wrong because
yeah,
he took a chance on a person's life.
yeah,
But if you want to say like as far as like was he a great I guess he's a manager, right? Or like a coach or like
It's been a long time. Was he pit boss? I don't
he's a
remember.
pit boss. So like you
yeah,
would say he'd be like a football manager or like you know
yeah,
like they call them I guess they call him manager in soccer terms or whatever or like he'd be a coach. So like
yeah,
was he a good coach to get his player to go for it? Like I don't know.
I
I
think
mean that's I don't know.
I think he
I
was
couldn't
wrong.
even answer that.
I think he's wrong.
Like you think he's
Because,
wrong, Dan?
yeah,
You thought he think he's wrong?
I think it's really morally horrible because I think of Rocky and like Mickey
Okay.
was totally upfront with Rocky all the time. He's like, "You're gonna lose. You're
You
blind. You
all.
can't do this shit.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
too you're too slow. You're too this. Like And Rocky was just like, and he gave him all the information, and Rocky's still like, "I want to do it." And so he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, like whatever. It's your life. Let's do this." So I think it was plus like I don't know. I'm trying to think how much moonshine they drank in Days of Thunder.
Oh
He
my
must have been
God.
still buzzed when he was like driving
Maybe,
that car.
yeah.
I can't remember. It's been so long. Does Duvall's character make it to the end? Because if he does,
Yeah.
then the sequel could be a courtroom drama to which Tom now sues him like
Yeah.
30 something years later.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
Duvall was like that character was already involved in the lawsuit when that guy's what's his name's father crashed into the wall.
Yeah.
Right, giving him the
Magic
same
Man's
fucking
father.
speech. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
That was
that's
a
a
good tangent.
that's a great tangent and great question because I don't think that was brought up in the episode that like
Yeah,
he
I don't
lied.
remember what
Just
happened.
but that win like you could argue, and I know this is still going on a tangent, is that you could argue that lie propelled Cole Trickle to become who he was,
Yeah.
and like we wouldn't have Days of Thunder without that. So like that
No.
lie needed to happen. He
I
needed
think
that push.
I think what happens is we saw like it's literally the beginning of Top Gun. So I feel like there's a whole universe, and I said this in the episode that he started out as Flanagan in Cocktail, and then he ends up in the Air Force. Oh no, he's in the Air Force. Like that's the whole thing. He's
Yeah.
leaving the Air Force and he's going to the Cocktail to then open up his own, Fridays, and then he, in the middle of that, I guess, is a race car driver somewhere. I don't know.
I think that the bar fails and he becomes a race car driver.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's how I would go with it if you're gonna link those three movies together.
and then
Anyways, guys, that was a nostalgia test tangent.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was no toy line because they're not going to an awesome tie-in. We could have just
Yeah. There wasn't any toys. That was Tom Hanks movies. So,
yeah.
all right. So you're a toy designer or maker or all of them?
I'm all the above. So
All the above.
So I own a company. We're a toy development company. So we develop toys, toy concepts, and toy IP for companies like Mattel, Hasbro, Spin Master, Jax, down to collectible toy companies and board game companies and pretty much the entire spectrum of the toy industry. And yeah, it's been doing it for my entire adult life. And
How was this company like formed by your family? Like how did
so
this happen?
so I grew up in the toy business. My dad started in the toy industry in the late 1960s working for Ideal Toys, which at the time was like a big deal. Then he kind of bounced around Aurora. Then he was at a company called HG Toys, which made some really nostalgic shit. Like if you guys want to go down a rabbit hole, look up all the HG Toy dress up sets because they did like Chips and Dukes of Hazzard, and they even had a Serpico dress up set. Like this is like
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of Planet of the Apes stuff. Total 70s.
Wow.
And he worked there for about 17 years. And then when I was in middle school, the company got sold off and they were moving everything to Chicago. He didn't want to go to Chicago. So him and my mother, who is an illustrator and at the time was an art teacher, started the company out of the garage doing like package design. And immediately a lot of people jumped ship from HG Toys and started other toy companies like Toy Biz and Toy Max and stuff. And we were just along for the ride, working on all that early Marvel stuff and just sort of grew from there. I started running the whole thing in about 97. And then I opened up some offices in China to do manufacturing for people. And we went from just, sort of package design and product design to manufacturing. And then from manufacturing, I started opening doors for setting up distribution for people. And now we're like a toy company for hire. So we do it for the largest toy companies in the world. And we also help like entrepreneurs who have an idea that want to get it to market because I can open those doors.
Wow.
Whoa. So you're saying like do you like have to bid on toys? Like if Mattel's like, all right, this movie's coming out and we want on this, they come to you, or do you go to like, how does it work? Like
they come to me.
Yeah.
So if we won't use Mattel as an example, though it's a recognizable name, but they're just, they're the largest toy company.
Okay.
Actually, Lego's the largest toy company. Mattel's the largest publicly trading toy company. So, yeah, if a movie's coming out and there's a bunch of people that want to get that, we call that license, the license to use the rights, people will pitch and they'll come to us to do pitch decks or develop some products specifically for that pitch. So licensing is a very parallel industry. We do a lot of that too. And actually in a couple of weeks in Las Vegas will be the licensing show.
Oh, wow.
And that's all the movie companies and will show their properties of what they have planned for coming out for 25 and 26. And we'll sit down and have meetings and discuss, what can work for, in the toy market. And in some cases, producers will come to us and actually have us review scripts and see how we can make it more toyetic. So,
wow.
we'll change things about the script so that there's play there. There's play value. Like the best example I give, or the easiest example that people can understand, is if there's a character and a female character, and she's cool as hell, and she's got short hair, we might say, let's make her hair long because hair play is very important, and we can do a lot with hair play. So we want it so it can be created, or we can put things in it. And
shit, yeah.
So there's like a whole
Yeah,
there's like a whole theory behind like what type of idea, like what type of ideal play, like from certain parts of like an action figure or a toy that you're dealing with and you kind of know over time will work.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the success of something like Star Wars. It was just so toyetic. Everything about it worked with toys. And obviously we all know that's success. But there are other toy lines that you just fall flat. Like it might be a cool movie, but Over the Top wasn't exactly the greatest toy line, and it did exist.
Yeah, there's like one toy.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
You don't want no one wants
go backwards.
Yeah,
like, it just like automatically goes.
A Lincoln Hawk.
I'm trying to go down that tangent now because think about it. There's that whole time Stallone's like pissed. He's like, you never got the letters I sent your mother.
Yeah,
it's like. You had a fucking truck. You could have driven to go visit your kid at any time. You didn't have to just write letters.
Every time. Every time. And
we haven't done that movie. We've been wanting to do that for the longest time.
And what's weird is in that movie, it's just like, did she hide the letters or did her father hide the letters? There's a theory that like she did it or he did it. And I'm just like, No one ever looked in this closet ever at this like random bag.
And why just hide them? Why didn't? Because the reality
Burn
is, that
them.
letters they'd be like, ah, garbage. I'm not even gonna read. No, they saved them still. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they still saved them.
The
Like, why
only
didn't
thing,
they get thrown out? Just like, you get junk mail, you just throw it in the garbage right away.
or
Like,
just go
why?
to the post office and be like, if we get letters from here, return to sender. Like done.
Done.
return to
Done.
sender, which means return to highway.
Yeah,
Toss it out on the road.
Route 9. But yeah. So like, all right. You told me one of your greatest success was Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah, well, that was definitely out the gate early on in my career. I worked on Tickle Me Elmo. That definitely
Like,
opened
who
up.
came up with the idea though? Like your company or someone said it, and then you guys were like, all right, let's
It was brought,
tinker.
the mechanisms were brought to us from Tyco, who doesn't exist anymore. But you might remember Tyco RC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day. They had gotten it as a mechanical monkey that sort of did this sort of stuff. So, we got it, and we were just really. I just went to town, just did a hell of a lot of marker renderings back before computers, and just drew dozens of versions of it in all different types of Sesame Street characters, and we just kept refining and refining and refining, and then just trying to figure out what the expressions would be and how it would function. But in all these cases though, it's teams. I never want to be like I'm the
Yeah.
I was
Right.
part of a team.
Sure.
Mind you, a Super Bowl winning team that year. But,
Yeah, I was gonna say like, so so is there like competition where like obviously the best sold, you're like, yeah, phenomenal. Like, but you're licensing this to another toy company, or like you guys actually, well, you said it was
that was development. So that was just purely development. So Tycho just pay to play. We
yeah.
worked. Yep. And then that was then, these things are done so far in advance. Like I didn't know it was going to be big. I remember like all of a sudden, like it's all over the news. I'm like, hey, wow, I worked on that like a year and a half ago.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
wow.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
almost
so
like it's like a movie almost. Like it could get it like you make the movie and then it can get shelved for about a year until it comes out.
Sometimes
yeah.
more. And
Wow.
and so I never know like what's currently hot. People always text me around the holidays. Oh man, what are the hot toys this year? I'm like, that's like 2 years ago. Like I can't. And I can tell you what I worked on 2 years ago that I thought was super cool, and it might not have even have made it to market.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Were you surprised at the success of Tickle Me Elmo? Like thinking back on it, and like what it is and how successful it became?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
Surprise isn't the right word. Like elated, maybe. Like this is cool, right?
Yeah.
This like, but I also for some reason kind of like I thought that was the way it was going to always be because in the 80s and in the 90s it was before the internet. It was before like cable news and everything. So you had three basic news channels, and they would literally just get behind some toy every year and call it the hot toy of the year. Ever since Cabbage Patch had blown up, every
Yeah.
year they were trying to find like what's going to be the next thing, and they would really get behind and they would sensationalize this stuff, and it would cause these mad rushes to retail for people to try to get the hot toy of this year. And that one was just like the perfect storm. Elmo was really hitting hard, and the mechanism was good, and it was a young age group, and it was lightning in a bottle.
Mm.
I just thought like
Yeah.
that would keep happening. A few years later, we worked on Pogs. That was super hot for like 6 months.
You had Pogs? Wait,
Yeah, I worked on Pogs too. Yeah,
you did?
yeah.
We've been talking about Pogs forever because we haven't been able to get our hands on an actual set of Pogs. But I used to bowl for Pogs, like
I
where
had
you win in
Pogs.
this bowling league and you got like 200 Pogs and you had the slammers. So you worked on all of that. Yeah, I remember that was going to be huge, and it was such a snap bracelet. Like it was just like, what the
Well,
heck
yeah.
was that game?
Exactly. And the crazy thing with Pogs is so to this day, I'm still friends with the guy who owned that company, right? And we do dinner every now and then. We talk a lot. He would be great in your bar. But next time he's out in New York, I'll make sure I'll bring him by. He can tell you these stories.
Yeah.
But he told me, he's like, Matt, if you ever have a runaway success, he's like, pick how much money you want to make and then just stop there. Because what happened with him is they made like, I don't know the numbers and I could be way off, but it was something ridiculous. Like he made like $40 million in 6 months. And then
Shit.
it just fell off a cliff on the other side. There was too much inventory. And then he lost like 30 million on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shit.
Yeah, that's the
That
problem. Ads.
that makes sense though, because like I had Pogs and I understood them for maybe 2 weeks, and then after I was like, I don't know what's going on with these. I don't. The
Yeah.
slammers were cool, like looking at
But
the
that's
things
what
and
you
stuff,
bought
but
it for.
yeah, you
Was
bought
the
it for the
slammers.
visual.
Like, who played the game? I played it once and I was like, wait, you just pick up. It was kind of like
It was like
jacks, like where you
jacks,
bounce
yeah,
the ball and
yeah,
you like
or
trying to pick
marbles.
up. Yeah, or
Yeah.
marbles.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it
it's based on a Hawaiian like bottle cap game.
Oh,
really,
wow.
It was originally done with just bottle caps. Yeah.
wow. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, so you get to talk to just inventors and thinkers, and you guys
Yeah.
kind of sit in a
Very,
room and be like,
very, very creative community, very tight knit, small community of like
Yeah.
some of these guys are like absolute geniuses and they're crazy and they're the best guys to hang out with.
I'm sure
We go
that
all over
must be wild times. Like
Oh,
when
yeah.
you go to conventions,
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah. And it's not like Big Bang Theory. I mean, these are just like normal guys. Like some of these guys are just like, just fun, nuts, crazy guys. They're just
Yeah.
like
yeah,
they're genius. A lot of them are geniuses, and most of them like already weren't even like toy geeks to begin with. They're just like super creative, and it's just
Mm.
like they're able to identify, trends and really just be forward thinking.
Mm.
so it's interesting. So you went from like a figure, like I mean, Tickle Me Elmo was a stuffed doll that had like a mechanism in it, and then Pogs. Like, so you don't close your mind off to like any type of toy. Like it could
Oh.
be a board game. Like, is a board game considered a toy?
Yeah, so let's get into board games, right? So then
Yeah.
a few years later, hold on a second. I'm opening a beer, but I'm not gonna show you what kind because you're gonna be like, you can't.
I ain't mad about it, bro. I'm a beer enthusiast. Like I'm fine with drinking any type of beer as long as you're drinking a beer. So it's fine.
So,
I mean, I have Miller Genuine Draft in my fridge right now that I'm still thinking of cracking because continue my night of drinking. So
so board games. So about let's see, a few years after that, we get to the late '90s. I get a call to go meet some guys in Manhattan who had just gotten the rights to a book that was just become a #1 seller, and they want me to meet with the guys. So I'm like, all right. So we go down, and then what's that book? It's 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? So, so I meet with like the inventors of that, who are a bunch of guys all my age, who were literally just sitting in their dorm room smoking weed all day, and got stuck in like a snowstorm. Kept changing channels, kept seeing Kevin Bacon, and called the Jon Stewart show when he was on MTV.
Oh, wow.
yeah,
And they were like, we can prove that Kevin Bacon's the center of the universe. And they were also, that movie 6 Degrees was on. So they were like, they used that whole thing. And then they got
Wow.
on jokes several times. And they were on Howard Stern.
yeah.
And it just kept blowing up. And then they birthed a board game company out of that called Endless Games. And I became their development arm. Like I did like 95% of all their stuff for like 20 years. They just recently
Wow.
like a company. I've done thousands of board games since then.
So like you got so so you're working on so many different levels of game, like just playing is what I'm seeing. It's not just toys. It's just
It's
play.
game, it's trends too. Like another
Yeah.
one, like one that I think is like really crazy because my kids are playing this now is again like early to mid 2000s. One of my clients goes, "Oh, my son plays Texas Hold'em in his dorm room. You think we can make kits out of that?" I'm like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, absolutely." So we branded Texas Hold'em, put them in a bunch of tins. If you type into Google right now like Cardinal Texas Hold'em, I guarantee you'll be like, "Oh my God, that's a set we had." We turned Texas Hold'em into like a household thing over the
Wow.
course of like 2 years, and actually got nominated for TOTY, which is Toy of the Year. On
Wow.
Texas
Wow.
Hold'em. Yeah.
So
That's
Dan,
amazing.
Matt would have been perfect for us to talk to when we
All-
were stoned in what the man who shall not be name's like basement.
It's
and
all
we
I was
came
thinking about the whole time just now.
and we came up with the beer pong. We wanted
Table.
to come up with a beer pong table before like beer pong was like really, really popular. And we were like, what about if you just have holes in the table and then you could like fold it up and blah, blah. And we like had this whole thing. We were talking for hours and it went nowhere. If I knew
Yeah.
you, Matt, I could go up to you and be like, yo, can we do this? Like, how do we develop?
No, but you know what? Sometimes it backfires. And I'll give you another example using beer pong.
Okay.
So who comes to us to develop a beer pong thing and they're going to make beer pong a household thing? Post Malone. So we work with Post Malone on like doing this whole like thing, whole series of beer pong, what's it called? The World Series of Beer
Yeah,
Pong.
he had like a TV show or like YouTube thing, right? Yeah.
Tanked. It didn't
Tanked.
go. Tanked, yeah.
But that's because now, right? Like, I will say beer pong is a totally different game now. Yeah, people play it and like, but
People
they're
just think
playing
it's
with
gross
water.
now.
They're playing
Yeah.
it with water. They're not playing like what we did back in the day, where it was
Yeah.
like you had
Hardcore.
grass on your ball, and like you had to finish the beer like
Yeah.
before you moved on. Like I played with my niece who's like 22, and I was like, no wonder you guys can play like 20 games in a row. You're not getting drunk. You're just
You're not
playing this
playing the game.
Dude, I remember playing it for years, and then I remember the first times when people started busting out solo cups, and I was like, "That's a smart idea." So we were using like whatever we had.
Yeah.
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 Whatever it was around. It's like this thing here, that thing there.
One's a Burger King cup, and the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's crazy. So, wow. All right. So I could go into so many different levels. I want to ask, there's obviously different trends that you're saying you're already thinking 2 years ahead in a way. You're thinking
Wow.
like this could be a thing 2 years ahead, and you're working with so many different projects. Do you have to think like, all right, this is an action figure that we think we're going to do well. This is a video game that's going to go, not a video game, but a board game that's going to do well. Like there's so many different, like, is there different departments in your business? Like,
Yeah, kind of. It also depends on the client. So some of our clients are focused in those areas, or they have a division that's in that area. So if it's like Mattel, the Hot Wheels division is very different than the Barbie division. So if the Barbie division comes, obviously we're focusing on Barbie-esque things, and Hot Wheels. So yeah, so if they come to whatever type of company comes to us, we're developing in that area, whether it's preschool or crafts and activities or games. But we also invent and license items too. So if I, 20 minutes from now, I have an idea and I jot it down, and then I go to the office and build a prototype, and then I go and I pitch it, and then I get paid royalties for however long that item's successful. And we've had
who do you pitch it to?
Oh, well, a lot of these companies have a department called Inventor Relations.
Okay.
So I also
All right,
but not everyone can access those people. So if you guys had an idea and you wanted to go to Mattel, you could go through their portal. You'll probably never hear from them again, or you can contact like someone like me. I'd fine tune it a little bit, and then I could have a meeting with them, next week if I wanted. And we've done that. We've brokered invention ideas too.
So somebody could come up to you, like, I'm sure once somebody finds out who you are, do people like say some like stupid stuff and you're like, dude, that's not gonna work. Like, I'm not even gonna continue. You're almost like a mini Shark Tank. Like you're just like, yo, I think this would be great. I'm drunk at the bar going like, yo, this toy would be fucking phenomenal. And you're like, no. Like, it's not gonna happen.
The best thing to do in that situation always is like, hey, all right, cool, let's Google it and see if it's been done. 99% of the time it's been done. So the internet is giving them the hard no. I don't have to do a thing.
Okay, yeah.
That's great.
Right.
That's great.
So have you seen so your family started in the 60s, you said 60s, right?
My dad started in the industry in the 1960s.
So have you found with the coming of a technology, with the apps and all that stuff, is it harder to sell toys? Is it harder to find the fad or the trend or the thing that's so popular, or are you finding it that is such a niche thing that people still want? Like you said, Lego. Like I know everyone uses Lego. It's the top thing because that Lego itself changes. Like you can make your own Legos. So like that toy itself is great because of the fact that it allows you to
Lego's
be
gone through some transitions, and they've almost gone out of business a couple of times themselves.
Yeah.
The landscape has changed a lot, even in my tenure, and not necessarily for the worse, because everyone's like, it was like, oh, the internet and digital must be killing the toy business. My answer to that is like, did TV kill the radio? No, they're just different. They're just
true.
Different. Also, when I was a kid, I remember hearing all the time how odd it was in Japan that that adults read comic books and collected toys. And now, worldwide, adults read comic books and collect
Like
toys.
toys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's actually now that's called Kidult. That's an actual market. It's an actual
Yeah.
demo.
Wow.
Yeah. Kidult. You
So
don't,
the
you don't,
market's expanded, if anything.
you don't have the rights to like Funko Pop, right?
No, but Funko Pop, I don't have. See, if we're at my office, I could show you. But Funko Pop made Funko Pop of me.
Really?
Yes,
It's amazing.
That's awesome. I made a Funko Pop of my nephew, but like, like the customized like one that you can go, you have to like use a specific like things like that. He collects Funko Pops. And I find Funko Pops it's a funny toy because it's as if they created their own market
Yeah.
by making things collectible, but are they collectible? Look at that.
Oh my
Yes,
God, that's amazing.
awesome.
Oh, hold on. So, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, take a snap of that.
I could send you an image of that if you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You could follow my company on Instagram, Design Edge Inc.
Nice.
I was gonna say like it seems that because of the research, like because of the adults are now us basically, and I think like we had some really amazing toys and things like that like we are still interested in this whole thing that we do with nostalgia. That nostalgia is so hot right now in terms of like childhood. You have all the IP like Star Wars still coming out. Marvel is huge. So like there's like comic books, Star Wars, toy collecting and everything is so big. And I feel like there's a big community that is just keeping like that I feel like, what you were saying, Manny, I don't think it's changed. It's changing, but it's like there's still a huge market for like action figures and stuff like that, even if it's not to play with them, but to collect them. And collecting is not, like you were saying, Matt, like it's not something that people are hiding or anymore. It's like people flaunt that. They're just like, look at how many I have. Like, this is amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, we worked on some really cool collectible action figures. When there was a toy company that's still around today, and they're very popular, that does just collectibles, called Mezco, and we were their art department for like the first like 5-6 years. So we did a lot of the packaging development and some of the development on some really cool stuff, like Living Dead dolls, which is
Yeah.
if you're like a goth kid, you kind of know those. I really still really love the Run DMC dolls we worked on, and the Reservoir Dogs were action figures, and like
Reservoir Dogs came out with an action figure.
yeah, we loved that. Yeah, it
Did
was
Mr.
cool.
Blonde come with like a razor?
He did.
He did.
He did. Yeah. Yeah. But Buscemi refused to let. We weren't allowed to put weapons in his set. He wouldn't allow us to do it.
Oh,
Really?
Really?
So you even had to like talk to you even had to like get agreements from the character,
Oh, yeah, we
the
do.
actors.
We do.
Wow.
We did a
Really?
release party, and Michael Madsen and I are having a conversation with my friend. We did. He's the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon guy. Just coincidence. I'm glad this is all circling back. Brian Turtle, right? So Brian Turtle and I are talking to Michael Madsen, and everyone's had a few drinks, and I remember like Brian asked Michael Madsen, he's like, yo, I love you in that movie. And he's like, Reservoir Dogs. He's like, nah, Free Willy too. And then he goes, fuck you. And he just walks away.
Yes, we just brought up Free Willy the other day.
Oh my God. He's Michael Madsen. He's had such a crazy, interesting like career. He goes from like cutting off the ear of some like, under like some cop, and then like Free Willy too.
And then writing poetry books. He's like a
That's right.
poet. Yeah.
Yes.
Him and Viggo Mortensen is like a huge like poet here in LA, like in Venice. There's a place called Beyond Baroque, and he performs poetry, goes to workshops, does all these things. Like he's just like so into the scene there in Venice. Oh,
So do you find that you're also like being asked to like recreate old action figures like that used to exist, and now they're like, hey, we're gonna come up with a new edition or whatever, and like do you have to like add to the action figure, or like I guess create it differently?
Sometimes there can be restraints because there are a lot of different. There's a lot more restrictions on materials today than there were today.
Yeah.
A lot of certain effects that you just can't pull off. Like as great as it looks, we can't paint the action figures with lead paint anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Or or little things like that, so yeah, but the reissue stuff, like Reaction, right? That's Funko. They do some fun stuff, or they make some new stuff look like it's retro.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but yeah, there's always, I mean, there's something I want to tell you so bad, but I can't, but because I'm under NDA. But like, there's some cool
Yeah.
stuff. There's several things from the 80s and 90s that we're bringing back right now
Oh,
that are pretty darn cool.
So like,
that's awesome.
you obviously
Yes.
get like also conversations with market researchers and stuff, right? Because you guys are all trying to get ahead of the game, which is crazy to me because you're trying to think about well, it's funny because you're trying to think about what the next trend is, but you're also gearing the conversation. Like
Yeah.
you're like putting down the street to get there because like the reason why that becomes why Tickle Me Elmo became a fad is because you guys made it 2 years ago and then it got released and then then marketing turns it into that. But like,
Yeah.
are you driving your own agenda or you're just thinking like, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is where we think it could go and we're going to try it out. Like there's so much like,
It's all
I'm like thinking about it as beer wise too. Like we're doing the IPA and we're going to try, like I'm trying to think about how you stay ahead of the trend,
Yeah.
but you're also driving it.
Absolutely.
It's like a weird thing.
Hold on a second. It absolutely is. But there's no right or wrong answer to that. Like sometimes we're completely driving it. Sometimes they're telling us where to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be out in LA in about 2 weeks for an entire week at Spin Master in Studio City. Is it Studio City?
Dan,
No.
go
Yeah.
meet him.
Oh,
Go meet him
Culver
there.
City. We're in Culver City.
Culver City. Yeah.
Yeah. And just sitting in meetings for 4 straight days, just going over like all sorts of trends, everything from
Oh, wow.
what colors are going to be hot for next year to, what's identified to, be, the next big trend and whatnot. And sometimes it's dead on, sometimes it's not. And I had to do that with like 3 or 4 different major toy companies. And sometimes they're, simultaneously without knowing it, all pointing at the same stuff. Of course, I can't tell them that because we're all under NDA, but I can't tell them like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
they also said that too. You got to keep your mouth shut. And then sometimes like one company's info is completely the opposite of the other companies. And you're like, all right, let's
Really?
see. If you got it right. Like,
Wow.
But you're going to just take
Amazing.
on the client just to see like, hey, it might work out for one and not on the other. So I got to be able to cover myself. Like,
Yeah.
well, they call on us, to get stuff done. I'm fortunate to be in a situation where we're respected, then we're like Iron Guns. We're the A team.
yeah,
Nice.
really. That's all. And you're right on Long Island. So like, and you said you have a manufacturing facility in China. So you're
So
constantly
I have
flying
2
around.
offices. Yes, I have 2 offices in China, and we manufacture all over China, Vietnam, India. We do some parts of Europe. We do some manufacturing in the U.S. as well.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm
what-
all over the place. I've been on a plane at least twice a month since,
Wow.
before COVID, it was nuts. But yeah, my son had me sit down a few years ago to figure this out. For work, I've been to 30 countries.
Wow. That's amazing. You never think like these, it's so interesting to kind of have this conversation because it's like, it's a career path, but it's this space in the world that like you don't get an in on, and knowing like all these how toys are kind of created and things like that, and just like the people behind them are like just people just having like have all these amazing ideas and like having a good time with each other, but also just like have a sense of humor about everything. Like it shows in the product, like when you think about it, like it's there. Like Tickle Me Elmo's funny in a way.
Well, I always feel like it's a weird. I'm in a weird business,
Yeah.
That like not too many people do what I do. That's why I was like, what does this Mike guy do right now?
Yeah.
But it's a quasi rock star job. I always joke
Yeah.
it's like being a rock star, except for like there's no groupies and the drugs are terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I mean you're like not in charge, but you're involved with a whole team with like
Yeah.
really pop culture. Like you said,
Yeah.
Tickle Me Elmo. What was like your next big thing that you did?
I mean, it gets blurry after that, really. I mean, there's been so many things, and I forget them all the time. But we just got nominated this week for the Toy Invention and Design Studio of the Year by Play
Wow.
Creator.
No way. Congratulations.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's huge.
And like another cool thing, like we were talking about, like my job's cool enough that like celebrities, when I meet them, want to talk to me about what I do for like 45 minutes. And
Yeah, I mean,
and then I get celebrities who pitch me ideas, and those are the ones I'm like, shit, Google that, see if it's happening.
That's hilarious. Oh my
yeah,
god.
like what's this? Like American Psycho. Can we make a toy of him holding a
preschool
chainsaw?
doll? Right, yeah.
So is
business cards that are embossed.
oh my god, that would be amazing. That would just be
Dude,
God.
I'm telling you, that would probably be a niche. There'd be people who bought that shit.
100%.
Like they would go to Necromantic down the block from us, and they would all go there and buy that. Like it would be those business cards would be sold. Like it's
one
like
of our hot sellers on draw a paint and drink day, right?
Yeah. No, it would be like a lot of people. Some people on this that listen to this show would be into that too.
100%.
Billy would play that stuff.
Are you kidding
It's
me?
funny though. I don't really go into that pub because I actually worry that that's the pub that they'll be like, I won't even be able to use the restroom. Somebody will be following me in there to like,
asking you all these things. Yeah, that's funny.
So
that's crazy.
With the onset of like all this AI talk, I'm a professor, so AI is always in the conversation at this point. Like it's all anyone talks about in with my colleagues, like AI writing and AI this is in the toy industry right now. How big is the conversation in terms of like AI and its use or its maybe collaborative usage?
There's a lot of talk about it, and my favorite part about that conversation is usually somebody pitching me some great AI ideas that obviously have not fucking used AI. Like they just think that they have this vision of it just being Hal from like the Space Odyssey, and then it's going to be able to do everything and anything. I'm like, it's kind of like a one-trick pony AI, for the most part. Listen, do I think it's going to evolve and become greater and greater? Yeah. And is it a new tool? Yeah, it's got to be cool to grow up in an era where you could, all this stuff's at your fingertips. But you ever use it to write? I mean, if you teach, I'm sure any student's paper that comes in the word delve is in it 6 times. You know that it's by AI.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
crazy.
I've used it for like caption
about 5 times. I'm starting to use delve in my writing now. I'm like, damn it.
Oh no, it's like you could tell. Like it's funny. Like they'll write something. Like they'll use it. And like I can prove and can't prove it at the same time. I'm just like, no one says in conclusion anymore. Like that's the AI. Or furthermore, first, like I'm like looking at it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, but yeah, it's.
I'll
like
use AI for like caption helps in my posts for the brewery, and like right away, even my wife's like, you use ChatGPT for that, right? Like you could just tell because it can't get your nuance of your conversation, like the way you speak. Like, I mean, what it does help me like cut time in half. Like, I think it's a great tool. Like what Matt said, I think it's a great tool. I think, I mean, we've been using technology since we invented fire, so like it is something that can be used as a great tool. It is a one-trick pony, I think. Like, I think it's been proven to been disproven. Like, it's like not to the point where you're just like, oh, I'm not really sure yet. Like
my father's scared to death of it because he thinks it's going to like, take over the world. But yeah, it's that one-trick pony, and like I use it because I'm very dyslexic, and when I write stuff, I often leave out words or I can't figure out how to spell something. So I'll run it through and I'll be like, check for missing words like I don't allow it to rewrite what I do because, I do write for a couple magazines and I do have like a certain prose that people find funny and it's entertaining. And I don't be in that furthermore and conclusion guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not me, like if it was a lawyer, but and I tried once or twice, like write it with humor, and it was like the corniest shit. Like,
oh my god! One time I tried to because I do that Macho Manny Randy Savage bit, and I'm like, all right, let me get a caption with that, and I was like, write it like Macho Man would, blah blah blah, and they did it. I was like, No, I'm just gonna write it. I'm just gonna write it myself. So, like, this is terrible. This is terrible. Like,
Oh
it was
my
like the
God.
PG version of Macho Man, but like in the 80s, but like written now. It was terrible. I was like, what are you talking about?
I mean, it's almost the equivalent of asking your mom to be cool, right? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that analogy. Yes, it definitely is. It definitely is. No, but I think it's a great tool. Um, what is your favorite type of project to work on?
I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
Um, my favorite type of project. I mean, I really just like the development. Just it's not even the particular type of project; it's the particular part of the project.
Mm,
Really, I love getting like startups up and running, and just like getting like some guy that there was no way he was ever going to get to market on his own. Like all his product developed with proper margins and proper scaling and everything about it's ready for retail that any retail buyer, if they like it's not going to have an issue with,
mm,
and just getting it built and set to go. That's
Yeah,
and that doesn't make it. I don't care if that's a plush doll or a board game or an action
mm.
figure.
you just
And of
like
course,
the
it's got
the
to be
whole.
cool. Yeah, but I got a lot of people who pitch me that too, and they want me to help them do that. That becomes trickier. That's harder than the inventing thing, although that there can be their inventions, of course. But I only have so much bandwidth,
Mm.
so I really have to be particular about like when people come to me with their ideas that want to launch it because like that's a lot of time and that's a lot of their money, and I can't just be like yes to everything because all that work and then if the item sucks, there's no money to be made.
Mm.
Yeah, you don't do any apps or anything. You're just strictly physical.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we do some like, handheld digital stuff and,
Mm.
some crazy stuff like that. But when I work with app developers, but
Mhm.
the app market's weird and
Yeah.
it's become like a false paradise. Everyone thought there was going to be so much money being made in apps. It's now like a commodity. It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
remember when app games were all the rage? I mean,
Yeah.
okay, I'll give you another thing that we worked on that was like a nothing that became huge. So there's a small app company that had like 10 employees, like pitching their concept around to everybody. Nobody took it. Nobody. It's my one friend gets a job at a small toy company. And we're talking a small toy company. Uh, and it's like it's so small the owners can't even like afford to give him like a real salary. So like we'll give you like a huge back end just to do it,
Mm.
Sure. He signs this deal. What was that what was that app? It was Angry Birds. And it went
No.
that company went from like 10 million to 400 million in like 2 years. And we were
Yeah.
doing a big chunk of the development and manufacturing for them.
And then
Holy
there was a
cow.
movie, wasn't there? Like a whole
A
Angry
Yeah.
Birds
movie. I mean,
movie.
there. So do you jump on the
Jesus.
marketing of that too? Because like, not only does the development and the actual thing of it, like you're talking about different types of market. You're like the Angry Birds had the game, right? So then they came out with the movie. Then they had the dolls. Like there was so much behind that. Just like you ever hear of I'm sure you've heard of like the Toys That Made Us when they talked about like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like
Yeah.
what comes first, the toy or the cartoon? Like, oh, we have this toy, we need to make a cartoon to sell it. So like, are you involved with that as well, or is just like,
Well, I know the Ninja Turtle guys. Kevin Eastman's an interesting guy.
yeah,
He was living in Rockville Center for a while.
that's this is crazy. This is it's,
Yeah.
so you've
Then
been
that
involved in like basically our childhood. Like that's like
uh,
Pogs, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Tickle Me Elmo. Or did you just skip it too? Like what the fuck?
I think I was
Tamagotchi.
at the same party I was telling you about with Reservoir Dogs. I believe Kevin was there, and I remember being in the restroom with him, and I think he oversaw what happened. He was like, "Wow, he's a dick." I mean, I think that was the actual thing that happened.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh man.
Yeah, so like, so you're not involved directly with that, or do you bring up like, hey, we should develop a show around this, or a movie, or
Yeah, yes. Yeah, well, I'm actually in production of a TV show right now.
I remember you said that, which I want to bring up in a little bit, but like, I was just thinking about like every project you work on, like, are there marketers behind you while you're developing this thing, or does it get developed and then they go to
Um,
marketing? Sir,
Depends on the type of toy company that it is. The
okay,
big ones, it's all in parallel. It's in parallel. It's
it's already thought
yeah,
about.
Yeah, a lot of it's baked pretty early on. Like they're not even signing that deal until they know they've got a clear path in every direction, including, how is this going to be? I mean, if you're a giant company like a Mattel or Hasbro, like they're not just thinking like, how is this going to be successful on shelf? It's like, can this be franchised into a movie or into a TV show? Will this work as a clothing brand? It's got to have so many avenues of things. Well, smaller toy companies really just focusing on, getting their board game well known. They'll develop the game, and then we'll bring in some marketers or some social media people, or, to get them some
attraction or whatever. You weren't involved with Magic the Gathering, were you?
No.
No.
I love that, but no.
Oh, I love that game.
Dan loved that game. Or
Fucking
Pokemon.
loved it. I want to start playing again. There's like places here in Los Angeles that they're still playing. They like have game room. Like I just am like,
all I know
Jesus.
is they've changed some rules, and I know a lot of adults that are incredibly angry.
Oh, really? So
Really?
they changed some rules. Okay.
Were you involved with like Uno and Uno Attack and Uno, like every Uno card ever made now?
Uno,
I love Uno.
Number one selling game. Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, right.
What's this thing? I've done Uno related products. Like it wasn't necessarily Uno itself, but it'd be like a Uno stationary set, or things like that.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of these brands, like sometimes we don't work on the core product, but we'll work on like ancillary stuff.
Yeah, there's some games that we even talked about on previous episodes, like the board game Crossfire, and how ridiculous that game really was because when it looked cool on the commercial, and my cousin had it, and we used to play it, and it just always got jammed, or the things got caught in the corner, and I'm like wondering now, I'm like, did they really figure, like, did they think about how long were they playing it but testing it, because it didn't work really at all. Like, it didn't work. That thing
it never worked as well as the commercials, especially in the 80s. The amount of enthusiasm in those kids' faces, no matter what they were playing.
Oh yeah. yeah, exactly. In that commercial, and then if you lost, I think in the commercial you die. In the commercial,
you spin away. Like,
in fire.
It was a dystopian future. Crossfire.
There's a game. Manny said he never wants to put Hungry Hippos to the test. He's like, that game is trash.
Well, the game is trash. The game, when you're really playing, you're like, what are you really doing?
Oh man, I'm gonna loop that over and over again.
Matt's gonna be like, I invented the game. Like,
I'm not just more concerned about Dan looping that imagery.
That's the one that's
I don't care. Go ahead.
That's gonna go viral. That's the one that's finally gonna get our podcast popular.
Yes, exactly.
Well, one of my worst fears actually would be like to be horribly hungover and someone would be like, all right, we're going to play a marathon of Hungry Hippos.
Yeah. No. Terrible.
Oh, man.
So do you get so you have kids, obviously. You were talking that you have a son. Like, do you get the games and like have them play it? Or like do you have like a whole room set of just like toys that you've made that you're like, yes?
Well, I mean, I have a whole studio, obviously. So our main office is in Bethpage over on the Gold Coast Movie Studio lot.
Which I'm coming to at one point.
Yeah.
Because I want to infiltrate this studio.
Yeah, my kids like games. Actually, I think they like games more than I do, which is
really
great. Yeah.
It's funny because like people will be like, "Oh, do you drink beer all the time?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "I drink wine and bourbon." I was like, "If you make something all the time, you get sick of it." Like, it's not that I'm like, I don't drink it. I just don't drink it all the time. Like, so I'm like, I'm sure you're like, I don't want to play with this thing. So I saw how it was developed. Okay. I don't want to deal with it right now.
I want to deal with it.
I'm not as bad as that but I guess like I'm not making, if I was just making like just board games all the time, I guess that would be like just making beer. Right.
Yeah. Imagine seeing hops at the raw of the hops. Like IPAs, I hate seeing the waste of IPA. Like the when we pull the hops, like it looks horrible. It's gross. It doesn't look appetizing. And then, people are like, "Oh, I love IPAs." It's like when you have to see what goes into making that IPA, it's like, even my uncle helped me can one time, and he was like, "I never want to drink an IPA again."
My friend used to homebrew, and he took me to the place where you buy where they are homebrewers in Boulder, Colorado, which has like some of the largest amount of like homebrewers like per capita. But like they he would take me to get the supplies, and he would get the hops, and he's like, "Yeah, see this? This is part of the cannabis family. We could smoke this." And I'm like, "Okay, bro." It's just like relax yourself. But like he would go there, like they would let him, like this is all pre-pandemic, so his hands are in there and you're allowed to like touch everything and stuff, and it was just crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
he'd make beer. It was
Yeah.
really awesome. Crazy.
No, where were we at this conversation? Oh, you said that you're in development of a TV show, and I know we talk about this. I'm excited about this thing. What's the are you allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, I can talk about it. The press release had already come out. So it's called Toys of Our Lives. We built a really funky set on an old the old TV 55 CBS studios out in Melville, which is cool. And it's all very Saved by the Bell retro
Nice.
set, which is cool. And I'm gonna sit down with celebrities and talk to them about the toys that they grew up with and how it influenced them to become who they are now.
Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So have you already interviewed some people already? Like
We've got a
piloted?
couple of interviews. I can't really talk about that just yet. It's, in the can, as they say. I just spent a day at FAO Schwartz filming a bunch of stuff there as well.
Wow.
Yeah, we got,
That's
quite-
awesome.
I'm actually meeting with a real big time movie producer in a couple of weeks, sitting down that they want to get involved because which really up the ante because I'm, maybe get some A-level celebrities, but maybe not. Right now, I keep joking, and my friends find this, but I'm like, what kind of celebrities again? I'm like, it's kind of like those cooking shows you watch, and you're like, next on our show is blah 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 from CSI, who plays the assistant district attorney. Like,
But sometimes that's even better because then it's more about the toys. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously you'll get more eyes on it when it's like, like Hot Wing ones. Like they started out as like small celebrities and like, like B minus C plus celebrities,
Yeah.
and now
everyone's got to start somewhere too, though, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Wouldn't you like to watch an old episode of Hot Wings and see and seen like Brad Pitt before he was Brad Pitt?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So speaking of that, so you're talking about you get to interview so they bring up the toys that they've played with. Are you bringing up specific toys that you've made, or it's just like
No, I mean it's
not based on your
half-hour
company?
commercial about me. No, it's about them.
Okay.
We've got some cool, and the stars are all types of stars. They're athletes, comedians, YouTube stars. It's across the board. So, not
That's
just
cool.
the district attorney from CSI. Which I probably, because of this statement, they'll hear this, and the booking agent will call me like, "Thanks, Matt. Fucking CSI just backed out."
Yeah, yeah. What was your favorite toy growing up?
There we go.
Crossbows and catapults.
What was that?
That was like a set.
Yeah, you built walls, and then you had crossbows, and you had catapults, and you would lunge like stuff and shoot things through to destroy your opponent's side. It was out for a very short window because it was pretty much just projectiles, like shooting into kids' faces.
Yeah. One of my favorite toys growing up was
amazing.
the pizza shooter Teenage Mutant Ninja
Had
Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to go to my friend's house and we would, right now I'm thinking about how small that room was, but we would shut the lights off and I would be running back and forth and he would just be shooting the pizzas at me, going back and forth. Like you talk about projectiles, like that thing was crazy.
Wait, so I'm looking at crossbows and catapults. So it looks like was it like a board game sort of thing, or was it like
a board game kind of? It was just like a set them up, knock them down sort of thing.
That's amazing. It looks great.
Yeah, I mean when you're like 8, it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember I had the pizza thrower thing from Ninja Turtles. I had the Skeletor's Castle had that microphone in it that like you could speak into, which was unbelievable. And then my dad took the mechanism out because he wanted to like put it near the door for Halloween, so he destroyed my toy. He did a lot of that shit. He would
Thanks,
destroy,
Dad.
yeah, he would destroy some of the toys to like make other things or make me sell like the old Batman mobile and at garage sales. He's like, "Oh, you're never gonna play without a gun," and then like it's gone forever. Like
You're talking about like vocals and stuff. So my dad being in the industry when I was a kid, I would sometimes get products before they were out.
oh, it's so cool.
And He-Man particularly, I got a whole set of He-Man figures. And then, a few months later, the cartoons came out. I remember being horribly disappointed at Skeletor's voice.
Yeah.
Not what I had thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another cool one was I had gotten to see the test pilot, the pilot, which was unreleased, which was they used to sell the whole program for Thundercats. So I watched the entire pilot, and I actually had it at home, watched it, loved it. Also, the same thing for Willow. I got to watch Willow before it was even in the theater. And I remember Thundercats. I was obsessed. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was telling everyone I knew, and then nothing happened for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And people started telling me that like I was full of shit. I made this thing up. Like in general, like I would tell people like my dad designed toys, and they'd be like, bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
like kids could be like, my dad's an astronaut. They're like, cool. Your dad's an astronaut. That's pretty sick. How about you? My dad makes toys. Whatever. Fucking liar.
Like that's the thing no one can believe. Like astronaut
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like makes total sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Your
Makes
dad doesn't make toys because you would be a millionaire. Like, like that's probably what they're like thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, and why don't you have every toy in the country? Like, what are you talking about? That's funny.
God.
So
That's
it
hilarious.
only came out a year and a half later. Like,
I mean,
basically,
I'm sure it could be Googled, like, when it first went into development.
Yeah.
Like when the first airings started happening, and then see when were the airings in the U.S. because they might have been aired in Japan for like a year even before it even came here.
Sure. Yeah,
Wow.
It wasn't like Power Rangers. I found out was like we all know
Japanese show. They bought that. That was super smart. They bought the show from Japan and they just reshot the scenes that were live action with the teenagers, and they just replaced all the Japanese actors with American actors, and they just reused the.
And they dubbed it, right?
Fighting scenes.
Yeah, the fighting scene. I was like, wait, what? I found that out recently, and I was like, hold on. I knew it was dubbed, but like I thought it was made fun of that way, and I didn't realize like, oh, so every scene of like the action scenes is all the original scenes, and then when it was the acting when they were out of costume, oh, we'll just shoot a scene and we'll make it up. Like we'll just say what they're saying.
That is hilarious.
Like no one even knew what was happening.
Wow.
The only thing that was cheaper than that was Voltron, which I think they had like 7 stills of just like faces just like shaking for like 10 minutes, like screaming.
I love that show.
Dan loves that show. He brings that up all the
So
time.
yeah, Thundercats. I've said so. I guess in the U.S. it aired first in 1985. It said, and the first season was 65 episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Wow.
So I probably watched the pilot while they were still making those 65 episodes.
And it's a 2-part pilot. It was like a 2-parter. Like,
I mean, I watched it in one continuous thing. I mean, I guess when it aired back in those days, they were going to play like a 2-hour episode or one.
Yeah.
Cartoon.
They're probably just like half-hour episodes
For kids.
Yeah. For kids. Like what kid is gonna watch for 2 hours?
Oh, but in the 80s, that was all the time. They'd be like very special episode, and then like last time on Different Strokes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Last time on Family Matters.
Now you got 3-hour movies. But,
yeah.
It's just crazy.
It's like I just recently started realizing like there's movies that I've been avoiding because I'm like, that movie's 3 hours. I'm not gonna watch. I'm like, I can fucking pause shit and watch it like I'm binge watching a TV show. Like I don't have to sit through a 3-hour movie. Like,
so we're big on like the 90. We're trying to bring back the 90-minute movie here on this podcast because it's just fun. Like to me, like you tell a story, it's there, middle, beginning, middle, end, done. 90 minutes. I don't need anything else. But then I'll argue. We brought this up that I'll binge watch a whole show for 4 hours. But you could argue that every hour or every half hour of that show is the beginning, middle, and end. Where like you have a 3 hour movie, you're only getting to the middle of that 3 hour movie in like an hour and a half. So it's like they don't make it like it's a four episodes. Like that's why you will do that with the TV show.
What is each one of you guys like? What was the absolute latest show you just binge watched? Like you might have even just finished it today, or you're in the middle of watching it.
I was just watching Ripley because I wanted to compare the fact that I'm kind of mad that I don't like reboots and I don't like remakes. And I don't think that Talented Mr. Ripley needed to be remade or rebooted. What's up?
I think it's a book series, right?
I'm not sure, but you remember the original one with Matt.
I remember when the movie came out. It was based on a series of books. So
they're making it that way, I guess, because like every episode's about 45 minutes. And last night I just watched almost all of them. I do appreciate that they're trying to go more of like a film noir kind of look for it. It's like black and white.
Noir.
Sorry. It's like black and white.
You should say what?
I make up words here, Dan.
So I know.
So I kind of appreciate that. It kind of gave me like what's his name? Hitchcock vibes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the black and white, even like the way the cinematography is. So like I appreciated that. I didn't particularly like the actors were fine. I just was just like whatever. So I have I literally watched that for 3 hours yesterday. So like I have the time apparently. So like what the hell? But I still want a 90-minute movie.
But it's an arc thing. Like the arc of the 1 hour show, it's like a beginning, middle, and end arc for an hour, right? And it's not even a full hour. I mean, really, it's never really a full hour or full half hour. And a 3 hour film, it's a beginning, middle, and end arc in 3 hours or 3.5 hours. So these arcs are much more expanded. And at a certain point, there's times where I'm watching something long and I'm just like, well, okay. Like we got it. Like I unfortunately watched the other two Matrix movies after we did the episode and holy crap, I forgot what was happening in those two films. And I was like, all of this conversation between Neo and the architect can like literally been condensed down to being like, I created this shit. There's multiple of you. Get the fuck out of this room. Like, like it was crazy. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. I think it's like we forget we could pause things and stuff, but I don't know. Like I didn't see one of the Oscar nominated films this year. I think I saw one.
I saw Barbie.
It wasn't Barbie. I saw Barbie. I didn't see
I can't bring myself to watch Oppenheimer.
No.
What about you? What have you watched?
You like lighthearted stuff?
What's up?
I said you don't like
lighthearted. Yeah. No, I don't think like I know I heard it's phenomenal, but like for some reason I'm just like, nah.
In general, Nolan films are hard to watch for some. I think I'm just too ADD. Like I appreciate the look and the feel. I think he's a fine filmmaker. But I mean, they can be taxing.
Yes.
And as soon as my one friend saw it, I was like all ready to go see it. My one friend's like, most of it's a courtroom drama. I was like, fuck, I don't know. I could watch 3 hours of them testing the bomb, but I don't think I can watch like 3 hours.
Yeah,
that's what our friend Steve said that when we did the Airheads episode. He's like, when we did our appearance on the Movie Boners thing for the nominations that they had us do. He's like, yeah, most of Oppenheimer's just in a courtroom, and I was like, well, why the hell you need to see that in IMAX?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah. What was the point of releasing it that way? Yeah.
It's like taking Godfather 2 and just
you can hear the stenographer typing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone was snoring because it got so boring. I mean, what other show have you watched any shows lately?
I just finished Fallout.
Oh, I actually did watch Fallout. That was entertaining.
I liked it. It gave me a little bit of a Lost vibe for some reason. And I'm still mad at Lost because I stopped watching Lost after season 3. And then when I found out they were going to end it at like season 5 or 6, I was like, okay, I'll go rewatch and just find out. And then when I got to the end of Lost, I was like, I want my fucking life back. I am pissed.
Oh yeah.
I lost everything. It was like I was so mad at that show.
Yeah, that's why they call it Lost.
It's like
What about
probably
Silo?
like,
Have you seen Silo?
I have not.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I got into Sugar. Sugar's so recently the shows that I have been watching, I can't double screen, which means it's that interesting for me to watch because I do have like ADHD and I have to, there's so many things going on. But like if I tried to watch Sugar while I was double screening and I was like, don't know what the fuck's going on, got to come back to this. I really have to be paying attention. Another one is the 3 Body Problem. They said was like really good. I tried to watch that 4 times already.
Yeah, I saw. I started watching that too, and it's one of those ones. All of a sudden, I just woke up, and the next morning it told me I watched the entire series, and I didn't make it.
But that is interesting. So all right, Fallout.
All right.
I definitely agree. All right, let's get back. We went on a tangent. Sorry, Dan. I know.
yeah.
I know. I love it. Matt's great to be on because his brain goes everywhere.
Oh, no,
And this is not,
absolutely.
I understand. I think you got to have this kind of brain too to be like a toy developer because you have to go from. In my thing is like you're working on a board game here, you're working on action figure here, a doll here, thinking about how long their like hair is and stuff. I'm actually when you talk about it, I think about the movie Big. Do you like that scene? Like, do you like the office scene? Is it kind of like that's like, well, I don't get it. Like, what does it do? The building just turns into a building.
Robot, right?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, that's the big joke between me and my toy inventor friends. It's all like, how many people go like, "Oh my God, have you seen the movie Big?"
Yeah.
No idea how many people ask us. Like,
Sure.
movie.
Of course you've seen it. Of course you've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Nope, never heard of it.
No.
I've tried. I've actually a handful of times done that, never heard of it, and people fall for it.
Yeah.
Side note, just to go more ADD. One of my favorite things to do is to Canadian people is when they tell me they're from Toronto, I tell them I've never heard of it.
Oh my God.
And,
Dude, my cousins would be so mad.
That's
They're
great.
from Toronto. They're from
that being said, I love
area of
Toronto. I just like
Yeah.
it's just fun to.
That's funny. Oh my
But
God.
but like-
to digress though. So like my studio, I've got a team. I've got a whole bunch of people, and they're all working on different things. And I think my ADHD is exactly what keeps it going because I'm literally like, sitting down with one guy, like figuring out how to correct the articulation on on a horse, then running over to some girl who's like illustrating like a play mat and like, adjusting things. And then, there's somebody else who's trying to figure out how to make a toy cash register look different.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Oh, that's
So like,
amazing.
so in the movie Big, is there a lot of is there parts of it that job is kind of like testing toys and stuff? Like, is there a person who tests toys and stuff, or is it just like?
Well, first of all, that was filmed at the Hasbro offices in Manhattan that no longer exist.
Mm.
Now, if you go to that building on 23rd Street, it is Home Depot.
Mhm.
The next time
Wow.
anyone is in New York City, if you're on 23rd Street in Home Depot, you are where Big was shot.
Warehouses are now developed. No,
Dude, it's so
Yes.
weird. I just like my brain just went to that Mitch Hedberg joke where he's like, "Why is there a Home Depot?" It's like I just need to go to the apartment depot, and I'm like, "Why is there a Home
Where I don't have
Depot
to
in
fix
Manhattan?" Like, what the fuck?
where I don't have to fix shit.
Can you imagine someone just walking down the street with like 2x4s? Like I just purchased all this plywood.
Home Depot in
Like,
the middle of
what are you
Manhattan.
going
Like,
with
what?
I love Mitch Hedberg. Dr. Soul. I would have bought that shit from a Mr. Soul.
He rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg, man. One of the classics. There's a couple of guys that came out recently that I've been checking out that are kind of like his vibe.
Yeah.
We saw me and Dent saw him 2 weeks before he passed away, which thank God. I mean, I want to say I was glad I saw him. I was glad to see him live. It was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen live. So rest in peace,
I
Mitch.
was a huge fan. I remember when he died and being like pissed.
Yeah.
Somebody told me and I thought he was lying. I was like, no, it can't be. I just saw him. Like, no way. I slapped him 5 and everything. I made him do the throwback. What am I supposed to do? Throw the ball back to Jimmy? Like, how much fun can you have in an above ground pool?
I steal one of his lines often when people are like, "Hey, Matt, you dating anyone?" I'm like, nah, but I know a girl gets really mad when I say that.
Yeah.
I always say, like, I'm like, people are like, what did you say? I'm like, I mumble a lot.
Yeah.
So when someone can't hear me, I said, that tree is far away.
Yeah. It's funny. I just referenced that to my father. That exact line. That tree is
It's
far.
far away.
I hear music as if there's any other way to take it in.
Receive it.
Hey
I
man, where'd you
wanted
get
to
that?
taste it. It did
Here's a
not work.
photo. Here's a photo of me when I was younger. Like aren't all photos of you were younger.
I used to do his
Here's a
jokes.
photo of me when I was older. Where'd you get that photo?
I used to do that shit when like I was living in Colorado and I was like doing my MFA there and I would like read at poetry readings and everyone there was like super serious. So we're like, oh, we're doing poetry and whatever. I love being a poet, but some poets need to like loosen up. So the first thing I would do is stand at the mic and do a Mitch Hedberg joke, and to crickets, to no one would laugh, and I'm like, all right, okay. So now my first poem, and they're like, what is happening? And I'm just like, dude,
you're like with a piece of paper, like. I used to do drugs and I still do drugs.
Oh my God. It was so funny. People
So my friend asked me if I wanted a banana, a frozen banana. I said no. But I wanted a regular banana later. So
yeah. Oh man.
All right.
Okay. So we have a few toys. Can we do a little lightning round or
yeah.
a couple
Let's do
things?
it.
So I sent in an email like and if you could say anything, like if you can't say anything about a certain toy, I guess I get definitely let us know. But
I can talk to you about any toy,
yeah. So there was a toy that we did in an episode called The Animal. I don't know if you knew what the animal
when the going
is.
gets tough, the animal.
Yeah.
The animal. Nothing can stop. The animal.
We
and like had claws that came out.
Yes,
Yeah.
like Galoob. Yeah.
My cousin had one of those.
Also
It was
made
super
micro
dangerous. Very
They did?
dangerous toy.
Same company?
Mm-hmm.
Did you own this thing?
Yeah, I know, but my friend did, and I was jealous
Of the animal.
of the animal. Yeah, because we like set up a whole bunch of sticks in his backyard, and then we're like thoroughly unimpressed when I couldn't make it across all of them.
Didn't they come up with like
I remember like going to try to find new batteries. Maybe the batteries are dead. Like we thought,
the guy, they're like, Dad, I can make this better. Let's make the claw. Like the claw's better.
We watched the commercial, and on the commercial, the actual toy gets stuck in the commercial.
They cut it.
So
They cut it
bad.
though. Yeah.
We said it didn't pass the nostalgia test, and I thought I read a story once, or I heard when I was a kid, or maybe our parents are trying to scare us that thing choked a child. Was like actually like climbed up its shirt or in the back and like choked it because it got stuck. The shirt got stuck in it. It definitely is not a toy that I think worked, and I don't know. And they did remake it, so I don't know why they remade it, but.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I never heard the story about someone I've heard a lot of horror stories about recalls and some of them true.
Yeah.
The worst was for your listeners out there, Mattel made a plastic like spring action rocking horse, which you've probably seen,
Yes.
around. So the way it was molded, the parting line was on the saddle. But one little boy was riding it. The parting line snapped, so down with the saddle, his balls dropped into the hollow part of the yeah, and then came back up. Yeah. Yeah. That's a true story. You can actually yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I was at Munich. Like yeah.
So like that's another thing. Like just to like before we get into the other tests, safety protocols have gotten different than when you started, right? So like there has to be like
that's a huge part of it. Yeah,
like choking hazards, and
that's an episode unto itself.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. I mean, I feel if any industry should be regulated, I'm like it's like you can have your opinions about guns and drugs, and I'm pretty whatever you want to do about that. But toys, I feel like need to be regulated because we're putting them into children.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I mean, yeah. I guess you wouldn't think about like how a child uses a springy horse, and be like, how bad it could actually get if they're using it in such like an aggressive motion and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God!
So Dan, I think I would say that animal doesn't pass the. So Matt, if you don't know what the test goes,
the animal does because like I when they go and get stuff, the animal, like this, the commercial.
The commercial's sick.
The commercial was great. Yeah, no. So like the way we talk about like I don't know if you understand the parameters of our test, but like there's something it's bad. It's not, it's nostalgic, but it's bad. It doesn't even pass it. Like it should never have been made. It's nostalgic, but it doesn't pass the test as in like it wouldn't be something.
It's not good
that you would have now. Like for instance, like The Matrix, we said passes the test. Right,
because it's still
such a good movie to watch. So you're like, oh, I watch this now. Like it was great. Where Three Musketeers bar doesn't pass the test, because who just eats nougat? But maybe you like just nougat. But we don't. We're a non Three Musketeer podcast. We
and then like
think that candy bar is terrible. We also put Take Off Your Pants and Jacket
as terrible
album to the test, and we were like, it's not as good as we thought it was. So like that's our
but something
so it could still be good and nostalgic.
It could be nostalgic, like bring you back to that time, like the story you told, but it's just like, would I recommend someone using this? No.
I get what you're saying. I'm going to look at it from the viewpoint. I was like, would I bother to get involved in a relaunch of it? And you're right. I don't think it would really, by modern technology, there's so much better stuff that it wouldn't be really worth bringing back the animal.
So you don't think? I'm actually now thinking like, well, how do you make it better?
You make it a remote control, for God's sakes. The thing didn't have a control. It just went.
It just went, right? It was kind of like an automatic.
Yeah.
You just pressed it on and it kind of went.
And you just like, it just
remote control would be cool. Do you do a lot of remote control stuff, man?
We used to do a lot more of it. That industry has gone
really
very high end or very low end. There's
no in between.
Yeah. So there are two I would put together that I put on a list: Skip It and then the Pogo Ball. Both of
Pogo Ball is what they call it. Yeah, I remember that. Well, Pogo Ball was just good if you wanted to break both your ankles. You just
yeah. The commercial though is hilarious because they make it as if like you started a rock band. And you were playing the pogo ball while you were doing the rock band. It was crazy.
Without even seeing the commercial, I can see the commercial in my head. Meaning, like, there's definitely pink and like turquoise triangles in the air, and
yes,
a freeze frame that turns black and white, then it's like hand colored fast.
Yes.
So 90s,
yeah. And it was like making as if like we were gonna turn into a pogo ball society where like we did everything with pogo ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was. And I remember like the commercial though. I do like there was like a sidekick, right? And like that.
Yes. It was everyone was doing shit on a pogo ball. It's like again, my cousin had a lot of this stuff, and I remember using it. I was like, "This is not fun. Like this is like really a bad idea."
I think we were just exercising.
I mean, one of the things that was everywhere for like a couple of years, and it's nowhere to be seen. I think the modern pogo ball would probably be like that ripstick thing that was like you saw everywhere for like a couple of years, which was like that, those little skateboarded without touching the ground sort of thing.
Yeah.
You don't see them at all anymore.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, the thing where you kind of made the S like kind of like hoverboard before hoverboard came because now it's like all
you see it at USC. USC students ride that
thing
on campus.
Now, did you see that they came out with like a second version of that? It's actually two separate
that too.
Boards that have wheels on them, kind of like roller skates, except they're not roller skates. They're like pads that you go on and
at least they're efficient, right? Like that ripstick was like, you want to skateboard, but expend like 30 times the amount of energy, not look as cool, not get laid. Like this is your like
people look crazy.
Is not a rebel like a ripstick. Like
people look insane on it. They look manic, like you said. They're like trying to.
You know what I thought was a very surprising thing that like took off was the Razor scooters. Because like when you first saw them, you're like, who the heck is going to use this?
Well, they were big in Japan.
Yeah,
Razor was trying to compete against Tech Deck, so they were making little small things, and they found these little small versions being made in Japan of those Razor scooters, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" And then they started importing the scooter itself, and that's how the break here. Wow! But again, I wouldn't be caught dead on a scooter, but like that's
but that turned into a thing, and people are still
doing rollerblades, let alone a scooter. Like
I like rollerblades.
I want to get rollerblades. It's
I like
LA,
roller
man.
hockey
That's the
skates
thing.
is basically what it is.
When you live in LA, like all these things are happening around you. It's like, oh man, there's like a
Well, it's
cool.
I'm
LA is like where rollerblades are like from, right? Like you're get
Yeah.
on the
yeah.
beach, like, and then like the Barbie movie, right? You're just gonna like just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's
Like
this
it's true.
skating company.
You can just walk
there's-
outside and it's nice enough to
Yeah.
go rollerblading. Like in
And
New York, it
aggressive,
has to. You only get like 3 months to do that.
and it's
Like,
not even that.
I'm just like the old drunken dude on the longboard. You know, that's
yeah, all right.
It's not
There
even
you
that.
go.
The aggressive skating has come back here in Los Angeles. So like people are like have a new aggressive skates. There's a
What you
store,
mean with like the
sole plates and everything. Yeah.
thing in the middle and stuff?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
They make
plates
them
to
way better
grind, the
now.
grind plates?
There's been like a whole thing, yeah, because like skateboarders and rollerblades didn't get like there's like a whole documentary I watched.
I was a
on it.
hardcore. I mean, like I got skateboards all over my place. Like,
Oh, okay. We got a rollerblader hater here. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
like, you know,
All right. All right. You got
But yeah, I don't know. I really want to. I don't know. I'm like, I'll die on a skateboard, but on rollerblades, I have a better chance of not breaking
I
my
actually
neck. Probably.
I tried an ollie for the first time the other day in a while. My nephew who's like 10 just got a skateboard. I'm like, these are still in? Like people are still really
Oh,
really
fuck yeah.
going hard on skateboarding?
and ollieing is like one of the first things that these kids learn now. Like my youngest son went through a big phase of skating. He was dropping in on balls and ollieing, but couldn't like tic tac or do a 360. And I was like, those are the first tricks I learned. So like the priority of like trick completely
Yeah.
changed. Nobody was
Yeah.
ollieing when I first like ollieing was like a mystical thing like nobody knew how to do in
Yeah.
like the late 80s. It was like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now people are
Crazy.
doing like 540s.
yeah.
It's just
All right.
like- all right.
Skip it.
Skip it. God, I've met the Belgium guy who came up with that. Yeah, that like you know, like
Yeah, the guy who came up with skip it.
yeah. Oh, I know a lot of these guys.
What did the prototype look? Did you see what it looked like?
No, I mean he
Like-
did it in like the 1960s, and he's much older than me. I mean, I don't even know if he's still around. I mean, I haven't seen him in years. Yeah, I think Skip It's still like a viable toy. I think that passes the test. There's some little girl somewhere in a driveway that's been colored in with chalk doing Skip It like as we speak.
And there's new
Yeah.
ones. There's like
Yeah, there are
better
new
ones
ones. Yeah.
now that they used to make, because the ones we made that we were talking about are like just all plastic. They cut up your ankle, and then like
Oh,
as soon as
it's
that
terrible.
thing hits the ground, the counter breaks.
Oh.
But now it's all digital and like more rubber based.
I'm hoping that the new one has like it can go on your Apple Watch, like the counter goes
Yeah.
on your Apple Watch. It should. It
Yeah.
should. Like you should bring in the technology of a Bluetooth.
Stop giving
to that.
ideas away. Like we give game show ideas
Well,
away.
I'm
we're
giving it to
giving
Matt. Matt,
series
come
ideas
up
away.
with come up with a
This
skip it.
podcast,
but-
if we start, if we
These are most people's inventions to me are things that like they're almost people like they'll take any average toy and they want to add sound or they want to add lights or they want to add an app that does something like count
yeah,
the
yeah. All right, let's.
I'm just thinking Skip It is a great toy. Keeps your kid first of all, Skip It and Bop It are exercise toys. That's what these things are.
Bop it.
They're like let's
Bop
not
Pull
Bop
it.
It, but Pogo Ball. Pogo Ball and Skip It
I'm good
are
friends with the Boppin' inventor.
really?
Oh.
Dude, that thing was crazy. That
Yeah,
thing.
he did really well on that. And yeah, he's one of the guys I've traveled the world with. We play guitars and we've been in bands together. Yeah.
Do you know the Simon guy?
I don't know the Simon guy. That's way before my time. But yeah.
Simon.
Simon's one of
Love
my
Simon.
favorites. I love Simon.
Let's do one
Classic
more.
Simon is
Yeah.
awesome.
Let's do one more, and then we're gonna do the Rocky.
I know which one
ranking.
you're gonna do.
Which
Go
one?
ahead, Dan.
So Matt, what about Furby?
Yes. So Furby. So I do know the guy who set up that whole deal, Richard Levy, and they made such a ridiculous amount of money on that, Adam. It's insane. There for a few years, and they might even still be doing it. He was chartering a plane, and they would land in a different place for every meal for like a
Jesus
week.
Christ. This is like a whole world.
This is crazy. You are talking about rock stars. Like this is insane. Like this is like watching that Beanie Baby movie. Like that's how popular, that's how much money like
He
a
made a
fad can get
Furby.
you. Like a Furby.
I have a friend who was flat broke, and then like 6 months later was like a multi-millionaire of a Zoomer, that robot dog thing.
Yes.
and he's like the complete opposite. Like he still looks like he's homeless. like and like we'd be hanging out in Venice and people are trying to hand him money. It's like
Oh my God.
That's
amazing. So
crazy.
Furby was that. I mean, I knew Furby was that successful, but thinking about the money like that, like charter, that's crazy. That's
Dude,
unbelievable.
my friends started these three guys started this company in Canada. They're like a couple years older than me called Spin Master. The company is now worth 2.8 billion, right? Each one of the owners is personally worth over $1 billion. And then there's times where like I'll look up like the net worths of like famous people that I think are like this guy's super wealthy. And they're not worth nearly as much as those guys. And I'm like, that's insane.
Wow.
That I know, like, this guy is worth more than Tom Cruise. Like, like
he develops toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, or part of like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Do they try to make that Furby guy? Did he try to make other things, or he's like, I'm just sticking?
Oh yeah, no, that's how I know him. We've worked with him on many projects.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's still at it. It's like, it's one of those things. Like, if I won Lotto tomorrow, like, it's not even in my head. Like, I'm going to quit my job. I was like, what am I going to buy new for the office? Like, that's like,
yeah.
Because like you make toys. Like that's a pretty awesome gig. Like,
wow,
you make things that make people have a good time. Like, like that come together, have a good time, even have a show about it on a podcast. Like, so I get it.
Before we let you go, we went way over time, but this has been so amazing. It really, but we need to ask you, because you said in an email you love Rocky, so we can ask you the Rocky ranking from the best Rocky to the worst Rocky 1 all the way through to Rocky Balboa. How are you ranking these films? And as Manny says to all our guests, you will be judged on this.
Well, I mean, the toughest part about this ranking really is Rocky 1 and 2 one film.
Oh, okay.
Yes. This guy knows his Rockies. This guy knows his
Because,
Rockies. We're not counting it as that, but it is.
Like, technically, they kind of are.
Yeah.
So then, in which case, 1 and 2 would have to be numbers 1 and 2, in my opinion, because Rocky itself, that's it. Rocky isn't the best Rocky film. Then I don't know. Then I can't agree with you. But I would go. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna. But my favorites. Let's just go in particular order. Would be 1, 3, 4. And Balboa, right? And then I put Rocky 5 should just be removed out of the canon. It's like it's like not even worth watching. It's like
yeah.
So 1, 3, 4, 6. So in 2, are you putting 1 and 2 together, or are you just like?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you had to make me split them up, I think then it would just be 1 and 2 because they're still. They're so interconnected. It's like it's hard to separate them. Although I wouldn't say 2 is one of my favorites. So that's why it's a hard one to. Hard.
So the way we rank it, I forget exactly mine, but I always put 2 later because 2 doesn't exist without 1.
Yeah.
And 2, even though he wins, there's like an hour and a half of reading to her, and just nothingness, and you're like, what am I watching?
And 1 really is only the fights at the end.
True.
My oldest was like 3. He was obsessed with Rocky. And I remember sitting there going, watching this little kid, his feet couldn't even touch the ground. Like, he's sitting on the couch, mesmerized by Rocky. And I'm like, he's not fighting. He's not like, why is this kid?
Yeah.
Like, because Rocky was like a giant kid.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what it was. He was just like connecting with the character of Rocky. And I still think that's the genius of Rocky. You know?
Yeah.
Rocky 2, I feel like we can figure this out. I bet you we can really set somebody up with like a bait and switch where we're like, what's that like movie from the late 70s, early 80s? The guy's got the Trans Am with the bird on the top. Like, and they're gonna be like, Smokey and the Bandit. Like, no, that's not it. Like, like, as many things that sound as close to Smoking the Bandit as you could possibly, and then just like it be Rocky 2.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to agree that, like, even in 2, that's like the commercial one. He's like, Smeal, I Smeal. Like
Smeal like a man.
Well, I mean, if you read up about it, like, he wasn't planning on doing 2.
That's right.
2 flops, but after Rocky.
Yeah.
And then when he wrote Rocky 2, he wrote all that in because he was literally being forced to do just that.
That's right.
That's how he was feeling at the time.
Every Rocky movie. Every Rocky movie like kind of mirrored Stallone's like life at that point. Like it's crazy. Like 3, 4, like he was like, all right, I guess I'm this character now. Like, and when he accepted like Rocky being like part of his like whole world as much, like he just went hell like crazy into it and created Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and like, but Rocky 5 was like a terrifying.
Well,
like,
that was terrible. But like we do in the show, we
good.
do bring up 4 as being one of the best, just because it's just 80s.
The ultimate propaganda.
Amazing. It's just a montage and a montage. It's watching a music video. That's what that movie is.
And it launched the career of Dolph Lundgren, and he didn't say anything. He said like 4 words or something. He didn't even have 5 lines in that movie, basically.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. All right.
The classic says He-Man.
Yeah. Oh my God. That movie was so bad. That movie was so bad.
Have you ever watched the documentary on Canon Films? It's the best.
I want to.
It's good.
So first off, they would make a poster before they'd write the script.
That's right. Dude, that's
true.
They were taking money, like the budgets weren't working like for the film. They wouldn't give him enough money. It was unbelievable, especially with Masters of the Universe. Like the story behind that movie is just hilarious.
Oh, and it's just 2 Israeli guys, which when they got to because they made Breaking and Breaking 2, and that explains so much when they're like they're writing Breaking 2, and the owner, Israeli guy, goes, "Let's call it Electric Boogaloo," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's where that fucking name came from." It's such an Israeli guy. Because even as a kid was like, what the hell is Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I love it. I love it.
Shit. Matt, thank you. This has been an unbelievable episode and just an awesome conversation. We're just so happy you were able to come on and talk about just everything that you did talk about. So like super grateful for you. Thank you so much for coming on. Would you like to plug anything at the end before we leave?
No, just it was a pleasure. If anybody out there's got an amazing toy idea, reach out to find me on LinkedIn, and I guess my name will be spelled somewhere on this thing, so people.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I'll put you'll see Matt's LinkedIn as well at the bottom, in the show notes right here in this episode and everything, and definitely just this has been an awesome conversation.
I can't believe the superstardom of toy makers. The lifestyle is what I didn't even think about. Like,
unbelievable.
But then it makes sense because toys are the most used things in the world. Like you have toys now, so like you're saying adulting, like whatever. So you have toys from 1 year old till 85. Like, so it's a great industry to be in. So.
Unbelievable.
But
awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
The next level is a brewery, but we'll talk about that.
What's up?
The next level is to own a brewery.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Continue doing what you're doing, man. What you should do is come up with a game called Brewery, like a board game where you have a brewmaster going through the thing, and then like a pump breaks, and you have to.
Most of it would all be clean,
and then payroll has to be paid.
And you make it like totally not fun. Like is it a drinking game? No, it's not. You can't.
It's not. It's not. It's owning a business. It's owning a business.
Yeah, most 80% of it
all day.
80% of it cleaning. And then
yeah. It's like Game of Life, but for brewers only.
Oh my God, everyone! Thank you so much for listening. Follow the podcast across all social media. Email at the nostalgist at gmail.com with any comments or ideas or anything. Just follow everything. The link will be at the bottom. Thank you so much, Matt, again, and everybody. See you in the next episode. Peace.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter at Nostalgia Test and on Instagram at The Nostalgia Test. Tune in next time because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.